Cohesion, coherence, and intertextuality are some important features of discourse analysis, and this help us understand various elements of language or society which contribute to the meaning. One of the important goals of discourse analysis is to make the readers of various texts understand that sentences or clauses in a discourse are closely interconnected and they need to be co-interpreted in order to gather proper meanings which are intended to be conveyed by the discourse. In this regard, cohesion is an important element. Cohesion looks into the grammatical or lexical relationships between the various sentences or clauses of a sentence. By looking into these sentences or the relationship between them, we try to find out that how they are connected with each other, and by spotting that connection out, we try to figure out the meanings. For example, we look at the sentence in front of you, which is at the bottom. You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him drink. There is a connection between the words in red, the words which are highlighted as horse and him. So him is replacing horse in the second part of the sentence, and therefore there is a connection between horse and him, and we need to understand this connection in order to figure out the meanings of this sentence properly. There are various cohesive devices which are used by the writers and speakers in order to connect a relationship between various parts of their communication or discourse. For example, we use reference. Reference is used to refer to various things within a discourse. For example, we use pronouns, as it happened in the previous examples I just mentioned. We use articles to specify things, especially the specific definite article. We also use demonstratives, anaphoric or exophoric references. We also use substitutions, which constitute replacing one word or phrase with another word or phrase at a certain particular position in the discourse. For example, I have lost my dictionary, and the other person might reply, get a new one. So one is replacing dictionary in order to avoid repetition, still conveying the meaning. Ellipsis is leaving out a word or phrase when they are not needed in order to bring in brevity and effectiveness in a discussion or discourse. For example, if participant A asks, were you cooking? And participant B replies, I wasn't. He didn't utter the word cooking here, but still he conveyed that he wasn't cooking. Conjunction may be seen as various linguistic items or processes which connect various sentences. They may consist of certain grammatical words which connect a major chunks of meaning in a discourse. Look at the examples. I wasn't invited. Otherwise, I would have been there. In the second example, I think, therefore I am. The word otherwise and therefore are used as connectors or conjunctions here. Lexical cohesion is also brought in by the use of synonyms or repetition in various discourse items. But if we just look at the making of various communicative acts or performances, we see that mere cohesion is not enough to bring in complete meaning or understand complete meanings of discourse. And sometimes we might fail to make sense of a sentence which has cohesion in itself, or sentences which have cohesion in themselves, but still the sense is not complete. Let's have a look at the following example. It's quite easy to create a highly cohesive text that has a lot of connections between the sentences, but is very difficult to interpret. There is a possibility, and example is, my father bought a Lincoln convertible. the car driven by the police was red. The color doesn't suit her. She consists of 3 letters. However, a letter isn't as fast as a telephone call. You see, there is a connection, certain connection between all these sentences. They seem to be knit together well as far as grammatical connection is concerned. There is a connection between Lincoln convertible and the car, and then connection between the word red and the color in the next sentence, and then there is a connection between her and she, and then definitely there is a connection between letter and the next letter, which is a post letter. But it doesn't make any sense. The paragraph as a whole doesn't make any sense. So there is something apparently missing here, which does not enable us to understand the meaning or the genuine meaning of this paragraph, and it clearly interferes with the reader's understanding. And what is that missing factor? That may be called as coherence. Coherence refers to the relationships which link the meaning of utterances in a sentence or between various sentences. In other words, it focuses on the unity of meaning in discourse. Just want to make a comparison. Cohesion focuses on the unity of grammar or unity of various language or linguistic items in discourse, whereas coherence focuses on the unity of meaning in a discourse. And people should be able to understand what is said or interacted with them in light with their normal experience of things. This is what coherence focuses on. Sometimes we see there are no clear relationship between various utterances, but still we are able to make the meanings out of those utterances just because of our background knowledge or shared experience with the context in which that communication occurs. For example, let's have a look at the following example. The participant A says, "Could you give me a lift home?" The participant B replies, "Sorry, I am visiting my sister." There is no apparent connection between a request for a lift and participant B's reply of saying he or she intends to visit his or her sister. But in general course of events, we know by saying that I am visiting my sister's house, the participant B is actually responding in negative. So this is how we interpret this text or discourse according to our normal experience of real life. Intertextuality is another important factor in discourse analysis, and it focuses on the relationship between various texts. It is generally assumed that a text produced in a certain context and on a certain topic may have a connection with the text produced on the same topic in other contexts. And based on this, we assume that discourse analysis helps us finding out these connections between various texts, because they are so vital to understand the real meanings of a discourse.